All right, guys, we are live. If you if you got the very end, I was sliding into my spot. I was trying to get a drink before the timer went off. This is UFC 305 live recap show brought to you by sherdog.com. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillan. Joining me, as always, is the senior editor of sherdog.com, the great Ben Duffy. Ben, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing pretty well. We got plenty to talk about. Most of it good. I'm raring to go, man.
Yeah. Shout out to this chat. A lot of guys in the chat. We just ask that you be respectful. We'll try to get to as many comments as possible. We got a lot to talk about. Get right to it. The King of Africa, as Dricus Du Plessis took on Israel Adesanya. Dricus Du Plessis has defended his title, winning by 4th round submission. Ben, right before the fight started, so this whole week it seemed kind of flat. Like the press conference was pretty, intense with Izzy tearing up and everything. But when you're on the other side of the world, it just doesn't get the same attention as it would in America.
Sure.
And the preview show always gets me super, super jacked up. Like it, but then I got a couple of days where I'm kind of like, burnt out. You talk about people always see the 2.5 hour show. They don't see like the 4 hours that we were taping and everything in between. You know what got me? And this really never gets me. Not when the two fighters get together for a stare down. It was when Izzy and Dricus Du Plessis were just staring at each other, both crouched down right before they fought. I was like, that's it. I'm sold right then. I want to bring up Dev Tejada's comment that he said in our Slack, our Sherdog Slack. He said Dricus Du Plessis is the best bad fighter in MMA history. And I think that's the perfect way to sum. He has this most unorthodox style of his fighting, but because it's so different, it works.
I agree. And normally, especially when you talk about striking, when you say someone is an unorthodox striker, what they usually mean is they're a deeply flawed striker and they get exposed as soon as they get to a level of fighter that can deal with it. Like, Keith Jardine. They always called him an unorthodox striker. No, he was a herky-jerky striker with some terrible habits. And once he got to a certain point, it didn't work anymore. Like, no, Dricus Du Plessis is this pile of techniques that would not work for most fighters, and he makes them work. And there are a couple of reasons why that I can think of. One, he's a fantastic athlete. Like, Dev Tejada, again, in the Sherdog Slack tonight, we were talking about Du Plessis, and I said, like, he brought up that he has kind of Jack Hermansson's level of game planning and coachability in the body of just a much better athlete. And I'm like, yeah, and throw in maybe Marvin Vettori's brute strength and just kind of tenacity when he knows what he wants to accomplish in the next 5 seconds, again, in the body of a better athlete. Like, not kids at home, don't watch Dricus Du Plessis and try to imitate that and become a great fighter that way. If you want to imitate Dricus Du Plessis, figure out what you can do that other fighters can't deal with and steer hard into that. Like, Dricus Du Plessis has not, I don't think he spent a minute of his career trying to imitate another fighter. I think he tries to imitate video games.
Yeah, if I could sum him up, there was 2 moments in fights where I was just like, this just sums up the brilliance of Du Plessis. There was one point, Izzy like caught Du Plessis with a nice shot, and even the booth was like, whoa. And then before they could finish it, he comes right back with like a 3-punch combination, and his arms were like he threw like his punches came like this. It was all weird, and it was just like, that was so ugly, but it just instantly stopped Adesanya's momentum. Like, Adesanya had to, like, he didn't get hit with him. He just had to back away. He couldn't follow up with his other shots. And then right at the end, where he started landing shots on Izzy and getting him hurt, and Izzy was turning away, like, he threw a shot and Izzy like slipped it. Like, he had this like flurry of punches and Izzy was slipping it. And usually when guys would have stopped after 2 or 3 punches and Izzy thought he was good and he was out of his range, suddenly he was getting hit by punches because, like, no. he's going to throw 3 punches, then he's going to throw 3 more punches when you expected him to stop. And I was like,
Yeah.
And then like Izzy gets away and he does it again, and he lands again by that. And I go, that just sums up who Dricus Du Plessis is, because you know what I said to on Twitter, someone was just saying like, I can't believe he keeps winning, and I'm like, I look at him and I'm like, he's not that good, but he just always wins. You know what it reminds me of, and people in Europe are not going to get this reference, and then people maybe who's not as old as us. Remember when Tim Tebow had this unbelievable run with the Broncos, where everybody on earth says he's so unorthodox at quarterback, it can't work, it's so ugly the way he throws, he loses the whole game, and then he comes back at the end. Yeah. That's what we have going on. We have a Tim Tebow on the Broncos streak right now, where everybody, you know, you look at the matchup, everything says the other team should win, and then somehow this guy finds a way to win. If you could sum up this fight to me, or even like the moment, or just a memory I'm going to have, like if you ask me, give me a memory about this fight 10 years from now, when I've watched hundreds, thousands more fights since, I'm going to think of Izzy's having his way. We'll get to the scorecard in a second, but I have Izzy doing pretty well. Izzy hurts Du Plessis where he goes down. Izzy tells him to go back up, and as he starts getting back up, he takes a second. Almost does a Tim Tebow knee, you know. Takes a breath, but Mark Carter has to like yell at him, like, get up, or I'm like basically going to stop the fight. And everyone's saying, oh my God, he's so tired. And I'm thinking, oh man, 1 or 2 more body shots and he's going to finish this. Like Du Plessis finally showing the, like, I am human. You know, he's starting to break. It's like that Drago, like, you know, moment with Rocky, like, see, you caught him. Here's a human, you know, here's a man or whatever. That's what I feel like. And in the same round, like 2 minutes later, he's winning by submission.
He is. And I hesitate to talk about what's going on between a fighter's ears, but I feel pretty strongly that was not Dricus Du Plessis playing possum in any way. I think that's literally him just being that tired and then digging deep and coming up with 1 more punch, 1 more takedown. It was a remarkable performance. Like, it wasn't a thing of technical beauty, but just a solid game plan, some smart tactical choices that Adesanya never really adjusted to, and then persistence, toughness, all the cliche stuff, the warrior spirit type stuff. Like, he was the more tired fighter, and Adesanya had all the momentum going his way about 20 seconds before this thing ended.
Yeah, he is like all the guys that we love, the overachievers, you know, the Gerald Meerschaerts, the Darren Elkins, all the guys that we love. He's like the president of them. He's those guys if they were even better, if they could somehow have reached a higher peak. He's like an ultimate guy. I mean, dude, there was one point. So this is, you know, it was a very good fight. It was a high pace fight. There, one point seemed like both guys, and it was kind of early in the fight, like late second, third round. They were like talking about how slow they were. Israel slowed down Du Plessis by technique, by working his body. I mean, he hit him with like 36 shots to the gut that any other human is going down, and the fight's over. So that's how Izzy slowed down Du Plessis. I don't think Izzy slowed down by, you know, throwing too much. I think he slowed down by Du Plessis' will.
Agreed. He spent a lot of the fight in wrestling semi-stalemates where he was wearing Du Plessis' weight as well. Like, I'm thinking of what kind of score I would give Adesanya tonight just on his takedown defense. Like, not the whole fight, not everything, just his takedown defense. Because on some levels, it looked incredible. He was so fast to get his hips out of the way. The way he got like 2 underhooks the first time Du Plessis shot, and his feet and hips were instantly like 5 feet away. was just a gorgeous sprawl. And repeatedly, he refused to completely concede the takedown, but he still didn't get the other half of takedown defense, which is actually disengaging so you can start punching the guy again. I know, like basketball reference, Bill Russell used to, Bill Russell, one of the original great shot blockers, said a defensive play isn't over until my team has the ball again. So I wouldn't swat the ball out of bounds. I just kind of deflect it, hit it until my team grabbed it and we started running up the other way. In the same way, a takedown is not properly defended until you're both on your feet a couple feet away from each other again.
That's right.
And you're back to striking.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if that's something he can fix. He's 34, 35. Because of his build, he's always going to be at something of a disadvantage in terms of takedown defense. He's so incredibly well schooled at this point at stopping the first attempt. But people who have good chain wrestling or just are Dricus Du Plessis and they're like a pit bull pulling on a rope toy and just won't give up, are able to get him down eventually.
Yeah, I think another thing that slowed him down was the way the exchanges took place. Like, Izzy never got to cruise at all. When he started landing his shots and he starts finding his range and picking apart people, and we've seen guys, start getting, one or two things happen. Either they just get picked out from range or they like rush in and get tagged because they get picked apart. He never got, and it's like one burst. Du Plessis was constantly bursting him. Like, you hit him with a shot, then he's going to burst at you and make you work. And even if he's not landing, he made you back away, circle away, where you have to get back in range, where you have to set your feet. Then he throws a high kick that's not going to land, but you have to force to block it and then reset your feet again and try to go through your rhythm again. And just that constantly making you work. The fight was, almost 20 minutes long, and it was Izzy never had a chance where he could just kind of stand in front of him, relax. I mean, there might have been a little bit, but he was have to work the whole time. And I think that's what slowed down Izzy. And then he made a mistake when I think because he was getting taken down, I don't think he was ready for Du Plessis to jump on his back like that. Even though he did it before, it's so unorthodox because most guys, they secure the position and then they like slowly work the back. He gets you down. He jumps right to your back.
Yeah.
And I don't think Izzy was ready.
Yeah. There's nothing about Dricus Du Plessis that wants to settle in your full guard and try to punch you while he tries to advance. No, his takedowns are intended to get him in a position where he can either start ground and pounding people from behind, like shout out to Dricus Du Plessis for throwing ground and pound punches under the armpit of a turtled fighter. Always love it when you see that. But yeah, like he was trying to take Adesanya's back pretty much every time he took him down the whole fight. Like, smart stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at the division. So, they already announced that Sean Strickland's fighting for the title, and we'll get to that, our matchmaking in a second. But I'm looking through the division, and I'm like, who's the guy this is the guy that is head and shoulders more talented than Du Plessis? And when you take Izzy out, because Izzy, he's always had that incredible skill, but I think obviously there's true signs of diminish. Even I thought he had a good performance tonight. And well, actually, we'll talk about that in a second. What was your score heading into the fourth round?
I had Adesanya ahead 2-1. I gave Adesanya the first and third rounds. I gave Du Plessis the second.
Yeah, so we had it the same exact way, and I could have had it, 2-1 Du Plessis, but this is what I love. Like, Izzy just had his best round in the third, where everybody had Izzy winning the third round. The first round was a lot of people had it, 50-50 going either way, but most people had Du Plessis winning the second, and then everyone had Izzy win third. Izzy just had his best round. He starts off the fourth, starting off really great. Yep. I'm thinking, wow, he's about to be up 3-1 on my scorecard. Worst case scenario, it's 2-2, and he's got all the momentum. And then 30 seconds later, he's getting submitted. That again, just to me, just sums up Dricus Du Plessis. I was looking at the division, and I'm like, who is all right, I know I'm going to say, oh, Bo Nicol. I know. I take the joke aside, but when you go to the contenders in the division, who stands out to you as like, wow, this is a credible talent?
Khamzat Chimaev.
Okay, that's the kind of guy I wrote down.
But having said that, I think Dricus Du Plessis wrecks Khamzat Chimaev.
I couldn't agree more. I was sitting. That's literally what you just flew right into what I was going to say. The most talented guy in the division, Du Plessis might be that might be the easiest stylistic matchup for him.
Yeah,
unless Chimaev gets Du Plessis out and like he's just unbelievable, starches him.
He's got 4 minutes.
Yeah, you give him that Usman situation.
Yeah,
Usman and Chimaev was at it. Oh my God, Du Plessis finishes that fight.
Mm-hmm.
And then you add, you make it 5 rounds. And I know, and listen, you know me, you heard me say this a million times. Guys fight differently in 5 rounds. They do 3 rounds. I never, I shouldn't say never, but I always have that like pump the brakes a little bit on the guy who gasses out in 15 minutes. It's like the guy who's breathing hard after the 100-meter sprint. It's like, yeah, I don't breathe that hard when I run the mile because I run it differently, but you get my point. I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm like, who could beat this guy right now?
I mean, I've got some people I'd like to see get a chance to try.
All right, let's hear him.
Okay. In a couple weeks, Bahalio and Cannonier are fighting. If Bahalio wins, I want to see Bahalio. A couple weeks after that, Nasruddin Imavov and Brendan Allen. Give me the winner of that. That'd be fine. Chimaev and Whitaker are fighting in October. Obviously, Whitaker's already lost to Du Plessis decisively. But if Chimaev dusts Whitaker, or better yet, hangs on to beat Whitaker in a 5-round fight, I'd like to see that as well. So there are some people that I'm interested in. It's a live division.
Hold on. Say the names again. Oh, I just want to write them down. Who'd you say?
Bahalio, if he beats Cannonier.
The reason I got to write them down because I'm the only person who gets text messages at 1:22 a.m. for fantasy football trades. And I run the craziest fantasy football league ever. I get trade offers at 1. We haven't even drafted yet. Bahalio, okay.
The Imavov Allen winner.
Okay.
And Chimaev if he beats Whitaker.
Yeah. I mean, of those 3 guys, Allen is probably the least talented on paper, but he's probably the toughest matchup. He's probably the one guy that if it gets into a drag out Du Plessis type fight could maybe match him. I'm not saying he would, but you know what I mean? Like he's got that dog in him.
Mm-hmm. He's got the dog in him. He's a great kicker. We saw that one of Izzy's most effective tools tonight was his variety of kicks. Allen could do that. Allen is no slouch on the ground, to say the least. Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting.
And going back to my last point, Chimaev being the most talented guy in that group, in my opinion, is the one that is the easiest matchup for him. So, do you want to do matchmaking or do you want to talk about Izzy first?
Let's. I mean, I wouldn't mind talking about Izzy first, but whichever you want to do is fine with me.
Okay. Where does Izzy stand on you all the time? Does this how much does this affect his legacy?
I mean, if you're talking about all-time middleweights, he's still my top 3.
Oh, I mean, 3. Yeah. Who would beat him for number 2?
Well, I mean, let me think here for a sec.
I mean, it's got to be Anderson Silva than him, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's Anderson Silva and him, unless you want to go so far across like generational lines that it's hard to even compare what they did. Like if you want to talk about like Frank Shamrock or some shit, like yeah.
So I feel like this with Izzy, and I feel the same way with John Jones at this point in his career. As they continue to fight, they can only improve their legacy. They can't hurt it. Like the legacy is set. It just makes it even more like I saw people say, "Oh, John Jones doesn't want to fight Tom Aspinall because it'll ruin his legacy." Like, wait, you mean being dominating the the UFC for 15 plus years, and now you lose to a younger, bigger guy in a in your non-division. Really,
Jones is 37 years old. He could do a Fedor and go on to lose 10 of his next 12 fights from here. Yeah. And if I think he's the best fighter of all time right now, that doesn't change.
Yeah, but that's my argument. Yeah, exactly. So like people who like the other people that gets brought up is George St. Pierre. So George St. Pierre losing in his prime to Matt Serra, he could still be the greatest ever. But John Jones at the end of his career losing up a division to Tom Aspinall, that would ruin his legacy. Like, what? So it's like the stupid argument. I know I'm bringing up football again, but like when people like try to use Tom Brady's Super Bowl losses against him. Like, so if Joe Montana never lost in the Super Bowl. Oh, so you're telling me this is my always argument. So if Tom Brady had 3 Super Bowl losses, and I don't go too far in this, I could talk for Tom Brady. So if Tom Brady lost in the AFC Championship instead, then Joe Montana wouldn't have the argument over. Like what a dumb ass. That's like the dumbest argument ever. But anyways, so taking second place it somehow is worse than taking third place.
Like, there were 30 other quarterbacks in the league that wish they lost the Super Bowl that year, and only one that's glad he won. Like,
yeah, exactly. So my argument is like, Izzy at this point of his career can only like winning tonight would have only strengthened his argument. I don't think it has any effect on how I view him as fighter, like all time. I think he is first of all, 30 COS. Eli Manning destroyed Tom Brady. Literally both games came down to one play at the very end, so they didn't destroy him. And Eli Manning would trade his career for Tom Brady's in a heartbeat. Anyways, and so would every single athlete in the history of American sports, including Michael Jordan. Brady had a better career than Michael Jordan. Yep, I said it. Anyways, he did it. He dominated for 2 decades, while Jordan dominated for 1 decade. Anyways, sorry, we're not gonna go on that rant. 127 morning. We got really close to football season. Give me a break. I view Israel Adesanya as a top 10 fighter of all time.
I feel like he is, but if I started actually counting, he might get bumped. Like,
to me,
down
the guys, the guys who are like at the bottom of the top 10 when you start going, you got like Chuck Liddell and Randy. To me, he's over those guys.
Yeah, I think he's ahead of those guys.
And those are like your bottom top 10-ish. To me, he wins tonight, he would have been top 5. I was going to put him over Fedor if he won tonight.
I think that's fair.
I started writing that up. I'm like, I'm going to get roasted for this, but I was going to put him over. Anyways, obviously it didn't happen. Is he done being a all-time, not all-time, is he done being a top middleweight? Is he done being a top contender?
No. He didn't get destroyed tonight. He came close to winning the fight. Like, I picked Du Plessis to win, but it's closer than I expected. And again, Adesanya was close to winning this fight. Things were going in his direction. So if you think Dricus Du Plessis is the best 185-pounder on earth, you can make a solid case that Adesanya is still number 2 right now. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't think he's done.
It's more like not like where does he stand right now, but like projecting him moving forward.
I could see him not making it back to another title shot. There are too many promising people in line, and he has slowed just a little bit. I mean, you made the point on the preview, and somebody corrected that. Okay, there was one round in there somewhere, but basically over the past 3 years, he has not been his usual dominant self.
No,
and kind of like John Jones right before he took all those years off. Part of it might be age. Part of it might just be the division catching up to him. I mean, when you're the champ, every single person in the division and others in other promotions and regional promotions have a target on your back. Like, they're thinking of ways to beat you at some point. The hive mind that is MMA in like all its various camps is capable of pretty impressive stuff. John Jones went from unbeatable to looking kind of beatable.
Yeah.
The same thing is happening to Adesanya.
Yeah, absolutely. So the point is, like, could he? Yeah, I think he's declining, but it's kind of like when John Jones was declining and he like, lost a scorecard to Thiago Santos. Arguably, a lot of people thought he lost to Dominic Reyes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had moments where he showed that he was human. That's why I feel Izzy's so good all time that he may be declining. He might not be close to the peak Izzy, and he still was heading into championship rounds on yours and my scorecards. I don't know what the official judges, but you and mine scorecard was ahead going into the championship rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Until he got hurt, I was having him winning the 4th round. Now, again, there was a lot left of the round, but that said, I don't expect to ever see him win the title again.
All right. Going into the 4th round, Adesanya was ahead on 2 scorecards. Du Plessis was up on 1 scorecard, and it was 29-28, all different ways. So no ridiculous scorecards out there. Like, really, anything that...
Yeah, the point remains. He was winning on 2 of the 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so, and even the guys that he was losing, he could won the 4th and 5th and won on his scorecard. I want to answer a question. Icy Vegeta. I know. I guess I say that name wrong.
It's Vegeta.
Vegeta is. Am I missing something? Is that like a?
It's a character from a Japanese cartoon.
Oh, of course you would know that. All right, Vegeta. Icy Vegeta. Nice that a character from a cartoon that watches our show or listens to our show. He asked, how many more title defenses does Dricus Du Plessis have to do to overtake Izzy's legacy? I mean, to me, how many title defenses does he have?
Do you have?
I don't know.
5?
Someone look up how many. How about that? How many title defenses does Izzy have? And the answer is, well, at least that many. And my answer is at least that many.
1, 2, 3,
6. Okay, so 1 foot out there is saying 6. So I'll take his word for it. Well, then he's got to defend the title at least 5 more times.
6 if you include unifying the title against Whitaker when he was interim champ. Yeah.
So he has 5 undisputed, and then that. Okay.
And then the unification bout. And Adesanya was fighting pretty good people every time out.
And then, I mean, if you think about winning the interim against Gastelum, winning the title back against Pereira, it's like, well, if you go like that, then he's got 7 or 8 wins in title fights.
Yeah.
So around that, that's where I would say. So I'd say Du Plessis is not even in the ballpark yet. Now, could he be one day? Yeah, absolutely.
Of course. He's young.
And he's I don't know if he's human. The guy is the amount of times he got hit in the body, it didn't even show that he got hurt. Inside he was probably like, oh my gosh. He wasn't even flinching, which was absolutely so impressive to me. Izzy says he's going to keep fighting. Does he stay at middleweight? Do you think it's a possibility he goes up to light heavyweight?
I can't imagine. Like, he might. Who knows what the man will do? But I don't see much of a future for him there. We're talking about a guy that walks around at like 197 pounds.
Yeah, I'm just asking a question for show purposes. I don't think so either. There's 3 reasons. There's 3 reasons why I don't. The first was exactly what you just said. He's undersized. He went up to light heavy before to try to become double champion. He was extremely undersized. Didn't work out for him. The second reason is the champion right now is Alex Pereira, and he really does seem like he's done with that rivalry. Now, if he's looking for one more big payday in a division that's looking for anybody, where Khalil Roundtree off of not a 1-fight win streak, off of a couple wins, but off of getting a suspension, pulled out a contender fight because of some kind of violation, a drug violation, performance enhancing violation, gets a title shot. I mean, the UFC would love to do that, and I know it actually would be their 5th combat sports fight, but a trilogy fight where they're 1-1 against each other with both getting knockouts. If he wants that ultimate payday, I mean, neither guy can get a bigger payday unless Pereira went up to heavyweight.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
But I think he's done. I think he's done with that. But the third reason,
think. Oh, go ahead.
And then I give you one more reason. When you go through, we just talked about this with Alex Beda, who in the division, other than Ankalaev, who seems like they never, ever want to fight for the title, and I understand why. Probably the biggest challenger to Beda is probably Carlos Oldberg. That's Izzy's teammate.
It sure is. And
what you want about Izzy, he's a loyal teammate.
Extremely, yeah.
And I don't think he's a guy that would jump his teammate. And he would, because if he gets thrown in that division, he would jump his teammate.
Yep. No, I think that's another thing that would keep Adesanya from wanting to do it. The fact that Oldberg is making his way at this point.
But I mean, we've seen guys move up in weight that have less weight cut as they get older, a little slower division. So maybe there is some there that we're not thinking of that maybe would help him. And his and Fist, he got out muscled against Jan Blachowicz when he went up, but that was years ago. He didn't have as much of a takedown defense as he has now. Like he's got more. I don't know if he has the striking skills anymore, but he definitely has better grappling skills. So maybe it is something where you move up and he can kind of prolong his career a little bit. If he stays at, and we'll get to Du Plessis in a second. If he stays at middleweight, which I think is more likely, what are you doing with him? Because I had a really hard time matching him.
That's a little bit of a problem. He has faced just about everybody. Just he was champ. I mean, he was champ so long that he basically went up and challenged Blachowicz because otherwise he was getting around to fighting some people for the third time.
I know Robert Whitaker was happy that Du Plessis won tonight.
Yeah, which is saying something. You know, I think with Adesanya, he's always going to be within shouting distance of a title shot if he's won his last fight or two. You might as well throw him at some of the up-and-comers that he hasn't faced yet. I mean, I just named a bunch of people that I'd like to see fight Du Plessis. I'd be happy to see any of them have to fight Adesanya first. Give me Brendan Allen versus Israel Adesanya, Caio Borralho versus Adesanya, hell, Shemaya versus Adesanya. Any of those. Love them.
Yeah.
Izzy versus Star Bullet, says Jade Bunky. Give it like...
Yo, I don't hate that at all.
Put it in my veins. It won't teach us anything about Bullet's takedown defense, probably, but
it might be the first time Izzy's looking for takedowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I mean, I can see that as a possibility if Sherdog can get a couple more wins. Some people throw out the Bo Nicol against him. As much as you joke, like I could see that happen like fairly soon. You know, if not Bo's next fight or two fights, but you know, if he gets a couple wins. I did the Imavov Allen winner. But the Borralho, if he can beat Cannonier, makes a lot. I mean, he's already fought Cannonier, but if Borralho beats Cannonier, which obviously is a very tough ask, I can see that matchup too.
I could absolutely. I'm with you on that. Looks like.
How about this one that just got thrown out? I don't know.
Like I'm in report was like Izzy versus Alan Imavov winner, which you know you and I were with, but MMA originalist Michelle Pereira. That's almost cheating. Like you can give me Michelle Pereira versus anybody. I'm like, yeah, sounds good. Cool. Let's do it.
Yeah. Actually, so after I thought there was no matchup, suddenly there's a bunch of matchups that I'm actually interested in.
And you know what? Michelle Pereira's kind of ridiculous strength and athleticism, his mixture of just crazy caveman striking and very effective wrestling all of a sudden, it's not that far removed from Dricus Du Plessis.
Yeah. And I want to give credit. I think Ninja Kitty actually said Michelle Pereira first. So MMA originalist, stop stealing other people's ideas.
Yeah, be the originalist.
Dev came in with Michelle Pereira too, but just missed out. And I'm not giving Dev any more love. We already give love. Enough love. How do you feel? Do you think Sean Strickland deserves the next title shot?
I don't think Strickland's done anything wrong. Like if Adesanya had won tonight, that would have been my next matchup for him. Like make Du Plessis go win another fight. Give me Adesanya versus Strickland too. it's just a matter of getting a fresh face in there. I again, Strickland lost to Du Plessis, but it's not like he did anything horribly wrong in that fight. It wasn't the kind of thing where I'm like, I never need to see those two guys fight again. So, yeah.
I think because Du Plessis, the other guys. I mean, Shemaev, you can never count on. Whitaker, he's already lost to him. And I know, obviously, Strickland has already lost to him, and the rest of the guys haven't really established him. Bahayo, Imavov, Allen, they're only kind of like 1 or 2 wins away from the big one. I think Strickland is, because to me, Strickland is still a name. He has like a cult following. The first fight was so close. I mean, if you got 100 people in the bar, I think it's 50-50 whose people said one, Strickland or Du Plessis. So there's like some, argument there and who won. Was that fight split, or was that a unanimous?
It was unanimous, I believe.
It was unanimous, but like, he could have went. It was super close. Yeah, I mean, I just, and the other reason why RC Kim kills me. He throws out Brad Tavares. He's due. That's our middleweight. Anytime we talk about middleweight, you got to throw Brad Tavares. He's the Philadelphia official middleweight. The other reason why Strickland is the most marketable one, I would be worried Strickland loses to the guys who are less marketable. Like, you lose on that opportunity. Like, you kind of have to like jump on it now, because the opportunity might not be there a year from now, 6 months from now. So that's why I would probably do Strickland.
That's fine with me.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No, just wow, what an interesting fight.
All right, you said you don't want to talk about anything else. We'll just skip the 11 fights, and that's the show, guys.
Hey, guys.
This is going to probably be a really quick co-main event, because when a guy knocks him out that quick, he's not that much to talk about. Former title challenger Steve Erceg took on Kai Kara-France, with Kai Kara-France getting a first-round TKO. Erceg was looking sharp. He was looking great until suddenly, boom, he was put on his ass.
He was, and man, smart things from Kai Kara-France. Like, knowing that he was at a severe height and reach disadvantage, just throwing 3-piece combinations while coming forward was so smart. Like, that's
I mean, it is. I mean, the one thing that Kai Kara-France can do, I mean, he's crazy athletic, because everybody at Flyweight is crazy athletic. He's got power, and power is the ultimate equalizer. He's one of the hardest hitters in the history of the division, and he threw a couple bombs, and he had a good combination that put him down. It's so tough, because the division is such a mystery, because with what's going on with Amir Albazi? I know he's hurt. He's been out forever.
He's hurt. He's out. He's been out forever. Who knows?
So there isn't a clear-cut guy for a title shot. Is it out of the realm of the possibility that Kai Kara-France fights for the title next?
It's not out of the realm of possibility. Like, the UFC is not gonna hold up any velvet ropes for Kai Kara-France. The only thing he has going for him is that he gets a whole hell of a lot of knockouts for a flyweight, but just pretty dry personality, kind of a nondescript guy. No. I don't mean that to mean, but he just is.
He's a guy he's part of the crew. He's part of the city kickboxing crew, and that's why he gets noticed. But like, if this was the Wu-Tang crew, like, he's like, I don't know, you got, like, he's got skills, but like,
skills.
That's not what people are talking about.
Like the deepest, most gravelly voice at city kickboxing, apparently.
Yeah. But he's also like shortest, yeah. And I don't know, like the most gangster of all of them, I guess. But you get my point, though. The division is so tough, because Pantoja has fought everybody, not as champion. He's just fought everybody in general. I mean, how many wins he got over Moreno? How many wins he's got over Royval? He's fought everybody else.
Yeah.
He's got a win over Erceg. I feel like you call Amir Albazi. I'm like, dude, I don't know. Pantoja's fighting in Phil in December. Can you be back in December? Nope. Okay. Cara France might be my next call.
He might be. The thing I kind of alluded to before is it'd have to be perfect timing because
sure,
the UFC would almost certainly rather it be someone else. Like if they don't think Muhammad Mokaev is ready yet, they might make Cara France and Mokaev fight to determine the next one. You got Royval and Tatsuro Taira fighting in a little bit. If Taira wins that, he might jump Albazi even healthy. Sure. Like they might just like screw over Albazi and make it Taira. So Kai Cara France would have to be Johnny on the spot with neither Mokaev nor Taira ready to go, I think.
So what are you going to do with Cara France?
Make him fight Mokaev. I want to see that fight. I don't believe in Muhammad Mokaev yet, but he keeps winning by hook or by crook. So,
but didn't they get rid of him?
That's right. They cut him. Like I know he begged to come back. I shouldn't include him in my thinking anymore. Like he's probably
going to be the biggest. I don't believe that. I don't believe that nonsense about they told him not to wrestle and all that. And I think there's way more because that's so stupid. Like they've had tons of wrestlers who were champions with Mark. I mean, Matt Hughes, all he did was wrestle, and they freaking praise him. Randy Couture, Kamaru Usman, like I don't believe that shit. And the PFL wasn't interested in him, and Bellator was. I know whatever's going on with that situation. He just must be a nightmare to deal with.
Apparently so, because the UFC is tolerant to a fault with annoying attitude problem fighters as long as they keep winning.
Yeah, so, Dev mentions that Carl Williams supposedly there's a rumor that he was told not to wrestle in his fight against Denise, and then there was the girl on the same card that lost the rematch. When they had the two girls open the card, fight each other. They fought in the contender series, got a draw, and they fought again. Supposedly she was told not to wrestle. Like I don't believe that shit.
Neither do I.
I just don't believe it. That's illegal. They signed Asakura though, right?
I don't think Asakura's ever made 125. Like he's been fighting 135 over in Ryzen.
They keep saying that he's going to fight at 125.
I'd be happy to see it, but he's a decent sized 135er. Like I'm just going by what he looks like when he fights people I'm very familiar with, like Kyoji Horiguchi. I'm like, all right, dude, if you think you can make 125, more power to you. But if you're going to come over and have your first fight at 125 pounds in your entire career be a UFC title shot, I can't imagine the.
I was putting him against Cara France.
Oh, okay.
I'm giving Albazi the title shot if all things are equal, or either that or Tatsuro Taira. If Taira beats Brandon Royval, then obviously, yeah. That's obviously a huge. I don't like that matchup because of Pantoja already beating Royval. Like you can't really make that matchup again. So, what about Erceg? I mean, Erceg's he looked brilliant against Pantoja in a loss, and now he's lost 2 in a row.
Part of me thinks, okay, Erceg needs a little bit of a break. He accomplished a ton in just barely over a year. He's still just 29 years old. He's got time. Let him fight somebody with name value that's been a contender, but looks to be on the back slope of their career. I like Erceg versus Alex Perez.
Okay. All right. I was going to go up and coming guys who kind of deserves it. Bruno Silva.
That'd be fine with me. Shoot, man. It's men's flyweight. Draw any 2 names out of a hat in the top 25, and you've got a great fight.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Before that, one of I lost the last 3 fights. I picked the last 3 fights wrong. So my overall pretty mediocre picks for me. But my worst pick was Dan Hooker versus Mateusz Gamrot. I thought Gamrot was going to just freaking style Dan Hooker. Like we saw like we saw the first half of the first round. Dan Hooker won a split decision in a really fun, high output fight. How did you score the fight, Ben?
I scored it 2-1 for Hooker. I gave him the second and third.
That's how I had it. I had it 2-1.
And honestly, the first one could have gone either way. Hooker really poured it on towards the end. So if you want to say that Hooker looking close to finishing the fight in the last 90 seconds outweighs Gamrot's damage he did on the feet and on the ground in the first 3.5 minutes of the round, I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, I actually I don't hate any scorecard in this one because to me all 3 rounds were toss-ups. I thought all 3 rounds could have went to either guy. So if you like, to me, like if one judge gave a 30-27 Hooker and another judge scored at 30-27 Gamrot, I'd still be like, yeah. And they both be like, yeah, it was really close. I slightly gave it to them. I'm like, yeah, I'm cool with it. I checked MMA decisions. It was 9-8 for Gamrot. So
cool.
Basically proves a point. And I don't think
if I turned in my scores tonight, it would have been tied 9-9.
They got 9-9. So way to give the people who say Gamrot, losing was a robbery. Way to give them some credibility because they'll say that. See, MMA decisions agreed with us. It was 9-8.
I didn't do my civic duty tonight. Didn't get out and vote on MMA decisions.
Does he win? Let me ask you this question: does Hooker win if this fight wasn't in Australia?
I think he still does. I think he still does. I would be my guess. Like this didn't have the feel of too much of a home cooking decision for me. Like Hooker, you and I both thought Gamrot's wrestling was just going to be way, way too much for Hooker. I was so impressed with his takedown defense. It was so improved, and I think it was Dev that already mentioned it in the chat. Normally, going for a guillotine when somebody shoots a takedown on you it's just the worst. But Hooker doing it when Gamrot kept shooting single legs with his head on the outside exposed, it was smart because he didn't slap on the guillotine, then just fall to his back, fall to guard, and lose the guillotine 10 seconds later. He grabbed the guillotine and kept working on his sprawl, and it gave Gamrot 2 things to have to deal with. Like, I'm trying to suck up this guy's leg, and he kept on trying to kind of, treetop the leg and trip out the other leg. But whatever he was doing, he had to worry about that and his neck at the same time, and it just short circuited him. I
mean, Dan Hooker was brilliant, and just for the record, even though I asked the question if this fight happened somewhere else, would Hooker still won? It was just me asking to have a discussion on the show. Yeah. I scored it for Hooker. So the one thing I would say that helped Hooker is when he lands a big shot, the crowd erupts. When especially in the third round, like Gamrot had a very the first half of the round, Gamrot was doing very well in the striking. Mm-hmm. So I definitely think the crowd helped Hooker a little bit. I'm not saying he wouldn't have got the decision anyways, but just something to consider.
Pope with a good point. That's the most tired I've ever seen Mateusz Gamrot in the fight. He wrestles a ton
because he was on his back foot the whole time.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. And then having to work so much harder for the takedowns than I think he expected is the other part of it. Yeah.
I tell anybody, you want to know how bad pressure is in MMA? It's simple. Go to your local track, jog 1 lap forward. See how tired you are. Rest up so you're completely fresh again, and then do one backpedal the whole time and see how tired you are.
Yeah, I'd quit before the first turn.
It would be that hard. It would be that hard. You'd be like, holy Christ, this is really hard. And that's the whole point. The forcing guys. People have no idea the guy backpedaling how much backpedaling does to fuck up. Like just spar where you have to back up. It just sucks. I will say this about Dan Hooker. I feel, and I agree with a lot you said, I feel like he had the best game plan possible, and it still came down to a split decision. And that's how I still think brilliant Gamrot is, where Hooker fought the best possible fight he could. And it was that close. I mean, I just said it. Pressure. I'm gonna go to my grave. The number one tool in MMA is pressure. I don't care. Not wrestling, not striking, not a good right hand, power. Whatever. The pressures, I still think is the best possible thing. But everything he did, like early on when he said, he was trying to get back to his feet, then instead of like giving up his back and saying, "Hey, if you're gonna sub me, sub me." Like you mentioned, the threat with the guillotines, even the downward elbows at sometimes. At one point, you talked about Gamrot was like in like this John Smith low single, and he's eating hammer fist, and then as soon as what I also love, I think, as soon as he got away from Gamrot, it wasn't like a second where like, okay, I got away, let's settle back in the center. It was like right back on you, like forcing you back foot, forcing you around that perimeter, kind of forcing you have to lean back to kind of spring forward. I thought Dan Hooker was absolutely brilliant tonight. And again, I don't think it was a bad showing for Gamrot. That's my whole point. Like, he had the best possible game plan, and it still came down to split decision.
That's pretty much it. And so, I mean, honestly, there have been like some of his fights that have been like, he's awesome, but even in his wins, he takes a lot of damage. Like, this was a fantastic performance from him in terms of takedown defense against one of the best wrestlers in the division. But I didn't see anything tonight, even in those improvements, that makes me think Islam Makhachev wouldn't still just crumple him up into like a little ball of foil and like throw him out of the cage. Like, so
I totally agree.
He is swinging right in to formation with some guys he's already fought, guys like Dustin Poirier and Michael Chandler. Like, he's a solid top 10 guy, top 5 guy, probably at some point. Might even make his way into the title picture, but is just going to give us a lot of blood and guts along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't expect like the whole thing making a big deal about Dan Hooker reaching the top 5. Like, I definitely think this is the ceiling. But you know what? Go back to when he was getting his ass kicked down at featherweight, the Arnold Allen. If you told me that he was top 5, I was gonna guess like, he went to Bellator and he's in the Bellator rankings, and like, right behind who's I can't even think of who's the jiu-jitsu guy that has been in Bellator forever. Beat Michael Chandler.
Brent Primus.
Yeah, like right below Brett. Yeah, he fought yesterday, but like right below Brett Primus. I'm glad. Like, Dan Hooker's like, he's super fun. Like, I loved his post-fight interview. Like, what do you want next? I want it all. I want BMF. I want Conor McGregor. I want title fights. I want like
he was having a little trouble focusing on the interview. Yeah, he just wanted to jump around and be happy and jubilant, and I'm here for it. And the chat is here for Dan Hooker versus Justin Gaethje, apparently. And
I got a different name.
Sign me up. I mean,
absolutely.
I wasn't thinking of that.
Okay, so what were you thinking?
I was thinking Renato Moicano and Benoit Saint-Denis are fighting in about 5 weeks. Give him one of those guys.
Okay.
Like, either give him the winner, or if the winner's too banged up, give him the loser.
I had 3 options.
Okay.
I think Dan Hooker's in a situation you kind of give out. So Gaethje was my number 2 option. The top 2 are all rematches. My number 1, Dustin Poirier says he might want one more fight. How about Hooker and Poirier? And then my number 3 option was a guy that I'm sorry, how do I say his name again? Icy Vegeta.
Mm-hmm.
Just throw out. How about Patty? How about Patty versus Hooker?
You know what? I would have said, ha, that's ridiculous. Hooker will absolutely dust Patty, but I said the same thing about King Green. So I just need to shut up and watch the Patty Pimblett fight.
You know what? Now that you bring that up, I might move it to number 1. I think Hooker's that guy. He'll go anywhere. He'll fight anybody. He's that guy. Hooker in freaking Liverpool main event. Do a fight night, either that or you do like a co-main event on a pay-per-view.
Yep.
Pope is throwing out. It's pretty cool. The Pope is in here. I didn't know the Pope was an MMA fan, and apparently, it's the Pittsburgh Penguins, right?
It looks like a Pittsburgh Penguins logo.
I don't really follow hockey. Ben, the guy from Texas, follows hockey much stronger than the New Englander does. He says, "Fuck it, Chandler needs to fight." That is true. That is their first fight wasn't too long, but that's funny. How about Gamrot? What do you do with him?
I don't think he falls too far. He arguably won the fight tonight, in spite of Hooker just having a lights out performance. Honestly, I'm fine with giving him. And the other problem is he's getting to the point where he has hung around the top 10 so long that he's fought almost everybody. But I'm fine with giving him like the loser of Moicano versus Santini, something like that.
I'm seeing people talk about possible matchups. Hooker. I had number 3. I'm putting Patty to number 1 on my list. I'm really think that'd be really fun matchmaking at this point. I went much lower than you, though. I don't think it's lower. It's lower in rankings, dude. Why is everybody? I'm setting up my freaking pick. Guys are beating me into the chat, and Ben is posting them on the screen. I was going James Curry. I was going Joel Alvarez. I think I think he'd be an extremely tough stylistic matchup for anybody in the division. I think he deserves a name. Co-main event on a fight night, or pay-per-view opener, something like that.
Yeah, I like that matchup a lot.
Probably the main card fight we'll probably spend the least amount of time on. Was before that, Tuivasa took on Rozenstruik. Ben, I'm a casual beer drinker. I drink at like social events. Like I never ever drink at home. I had to go out and get beer just in case we were going to do a shoey. That did not happen, as Tuivasa lost lost a split decision. I'm sorry, I did not do that on purpose. Lost a split decision to Rozenstruik. Let's save. Let's do that first. Ben, in recent memory, I know we can go back. There was worse scorecards. In recent memory, say the last, 3 years, has there been a worse scorecard? And I don't want Jay Petrie to come in here and pull up reality fights 37 had a, I'm talking about in the UFC. Has there been a worse scorecard than Howie Booth's 30-27 Tuivasa scorecard?
No, it's the worst individual scorecard I can remember in like a top level org in 5 or 6 years. Like the last one I can remember that's as bad was Verna Jandiroba against Mizuki Inoue in her last fight in Invicta, which was 2018. Like Rozenstruik, dude, I think Tuivasa landed like 3 strikes in the first round, and none of them, like they weren't game-changing strikes. I think he literally landed like 3 strikes. None of them were that hard.
Yeah,
and
like an inside kick was one of them, and
like anyone giving that round. It's rare enough that the UFC yanks an official mid-card. I would have been fine with that dude getting yanked mid-fight. Like, get someone else up here. You got 1 minute. Like, you in the crowd. How much have you had to drink tonight? All right,
they should have pulled him in and said, "What? Your punishment? All right, we're doing a 4th round. You and friggin' Rozenstruik."
It's discouraging, man.
That was horrendous. I'm glad that they listen, I'm not into like guys losing their job or anything, but when your job affects other people's jobs and they're like, that would have been a shame if there was 2 guys like Howie and Howie's cousin scoring or something. I mean, I understand. I do understand this, guys. When you're at an event, it is different. You get one view. You get you get the crowd. Like we get the the effects that they have where you don't hear the crowd as much as you would in person. I'm sure every time Rozenstruik landed a shot, the crowd exploded. Every time, I'm sorry, when Tuivasa landed a strike, the crowd exploded. When Rozenstruik landed a strike, nothing. But you got to start trusting your eyeballs more than your ears.
Yes.
You know, as far as the actual fight, to me, it was easy 30-27. I mean, best case, maybe you give Tuivasa's best round was probably third, and I still thought that was easy for Rozenstruik. I had 30-27. Rozenstruik got exactly the fight he wanted and needed. He wanted a distance kickboxing match that was slow paced, and Tuivasa gave him exactly that. I thought it was a terrible fight IQ by Tuivasa.
Terrible fight IQ by Tuivasa, and Rozenstruik. I've accused him a few times of. I mean, I know he has a ton of kickboxing fights, but he's not this nuanced wizard. I mean, he's a bread and butter striker, but he took away arguably Tuivasa's best weapon so instantly and so effortlessly. He just countered Tuivasa's first 3 leg kicks with straight punches right to his face, and Tuivasa almost stopped throwing kicks entirely for the entire rest of the fight.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. Yeah, like his best weapon, those big thudding Mark Hunt style big. He's got like a size 16 shoe and stuff.
Yeah.
Wide, 16 wide.
Yeah.
He can't.
Like it looks like a baby shoe, or like it's almost round when you look at the sole. Yeah.
Yeah. Like he can't go to like Foot Locker and get a shoe. He's got to go to like the custom shoe store. There's a friggin' shoemaker and a bunch of elves making his freaking shoe for him. But even when Rozenstruik was put on his back foot in that like warning track area where you can kind of swarm him, get in the pocket, and unload big shots, he wasn't even doing it. He was getting it. I'm like, and I pick Rozenstruik. You've heard me say this before. This is how I view. This is how in case anybody has never heard me say this, and I apologize to you guys who've heard me say this a million times. This is how I watch fights. I root from the very first fight. I root for my picks. Once I get one wrong, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if I went 11-1. I don't care. Like I 12-0, I'll come on here and brag. I go 11-1, you're not gonna hear me brag. All right. Once I get one wrong, I cheer for the funnest thing to talk about on the recap show. And what is more fun than talk about Tai Tuivasa? So I was rooting for Tuivasa in nothing against Rozenstruik, but I picture Howie Booth. I figured out how he scored with Tuivasa. I can see him like he's putting his scorecard. He's got his shoe off. He's like ready. He's ready to give. He's filling up a beer for Tuivasa. Maybe that's what it was. He wanted Tuivasa to do a shoe out of his shoe. I think Tuivasa has become like he's slowed himself down and he's gotten more technical. In this weird way, like it's very rare we say, hey, a guy becomes a better technical striker, and it might be like a really bad thing for him. Like his best tool is just to be wild and throw haymakers. Yeah, hope one lands.
And the confidence in his own power and his own reflexes and his own chin is what makes that go. Because you mentioned, even when he actually got into his preferred range against Rozenstruik, when he got into the exact same kind of phone booth exchanges that he knocked out Derek Lewis, maybe the greatest phone booth fighter in heavyweight history, with, he didn't pull the trigger. And I think that's attributable to the losing streak.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. absolutely right. You know what I would do? I want to matchmake these guys for a second. This is what I would do with Tai Tuivasa. I'm giving him the Molly McCann treatment. I want him to fight in Australia, New Zealand, that area. That's it. Only on Perth cards and Sydney cards or whatever friggin' other. I don't know if I know any other cities in
Melbourne.
Melbourne. Okay. What's the famous city in New Zealand?
I mean, Wellington is the capital of New Zealand.
Okay, sure. Wellington.
Auckland is the biggest city.
Auckland, yes, Auckland. That was the one I was thinking of. Okay, when they go to Auckland, all right, that's when Tai Tuivasa fights, and you give him nothing but tomato cans. I want UFC newcomer every single either UFC newcomer or like has been heavyweight that's worse than Andre Arlovski. I'm talking like, I don't know, go dig up Cabbage Correa, see what he's doing. You know, see what the former title challenger Paul Headhunter Buntello's doing. Like that's who I want to fight. Parker Porter's perfect. That's who. No, you know, Parker Porter might be too tough actually. Like that's who I want Tai Tuivasa fighting. I want him to go on like a 12, 15 fight winning streak, just beating tomato cans. And then finally give him like a title shot in Perth just to lose. And then just do it again. Tomato can, tomato can, tomato can.
What if it was the same tomato can every time? What if it was the Globetrotters and the Washington Generals, where he just goes 120-0 against like Josh Parisian?
The guy's like eye is hanging out and shit. Like, yeah. I gotta fight.
I mean, you're being kinder to him than I am. I was like, you know, at this point, I don't want to see Tuivasa just taken down and molested on the ground, but just give him up and coming guys that are probably going to want to strike with him. I'm thinking like Mateus Diniz that fought just a couple of weeks ago. Mick Parkin fought a couple of weeks ago.
No, I wanted to fight. I want Tuivasa to win. Like I like him standing up and getting people throwing bears at him and shit. Like to me, that's fun.
I'm not totally bought in on either of the two guys I just named. Like Tuivasa knocking Parkin silly, I don't think is out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that those guys beat him.
Yeah, definitely not out of the realm of possibility.
I don't think. Well, you know, it might. Wesley Cabbage Correa might beat him, or yeah, I don't know. So Rozenstruik. I mean, the guy's on a 2-fight winning streak now. He's won 3 out of 4. I'm still not too excited about him.
Me either. Like, if the UFC doesn't make Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Derek Lewis at some point, that is just gold left on the table. But Lewis is already booked for his next fight. You know what? Waldo Cortez Acosta and Chris Barnett are fighting in a month and a half or so. Give him the winner of that. Just too many of the people ahead of him in the rankings. Either he's already fought them or they've already got a fight booked. It's just not a great time to be Jairzinho Rozenstruik on a 2-fight win streak right now.
You know, I just thought of the perfect heavyweight to return. Travis Brown. Go dig up Travis Brown. Bring him back. Bring him and Ronda's fine ass back. And see, Derek Lewis made me think of Ronda.
Oh yeah. Derek.
Dude, this is unbelievable. Every time I'm about to do my matchmaking, someone beats me to it. Amen report. And I apologize if I said, I'm assuming it's Amen report.
It might be Iman.
I'm sorry. If it is, I apologize. Tabor. Like, I kind of feel like that. I'm not too excited about Rozenstruik. Just give Tabor. If he wins, okay, then he can go against Iman. Okay. So I of course I pronounced it wrong, so I apologize. All right, let's kick off the main card opener. Li Jingliang take on Carlos Prates. Dude, first of all, it was Carlos Prates' birthday. Did you know that?
Well, I only knew it at the end of the fight when he let us know. Happy birthday, Carlos Prates, and welcome to your 3rd win in a row to open your UFC run. That's 3 wins in a row in a pretty damn good division, and he's already beaten good guys. Like Li Jingliang and Trevin Giles are 2 of his 3 wins. Those are both good fighters. He got no grace period. They kind of threw him in at least straight into the semi-deep end of the pool. And so far he's killing them, and it's exciting to watch. I'm on board, man.
Did you know that he's a cigarette smoker? Like that, he pulled out a cigarette at the post-fight media.
He's like that Turkish guy that just won silver medal in the shooting competition, where he shot and then like wanted that. Once he would win his round, he's like, okay, where's the nearest smoking section? I'm all for this.
Yeah. Who was that boxer? Morioka used to do that same thing. You know me. The more personality you can get, whether it's good or bad traits, just something you remember them by. I want to see his next fight. I want him to come down to the cage with a cigarette in his mouth. No, you know what? Actually, I want him coming down with a cigar in his mouth. I want him like freaking looking like Tony Soprano. Come out with a Sopranos theme with a cigar in his mouth. That put it out on his freaking opponent as he starches him. His corner hands him the cigar and he puts it out on freaking Li Jingliang's body. Dude, I've said this before, but dude, first of all, Li Jingliang has never been knocked out, and that's something we both were on Prates and we talked about how tough Li Jingliang is and how he's fought a who's who and haven't been put him out. Dude, not only did Prates put him out, dude, he dropped him a bunch of times. It wasn't like he caught him. I mean, he either dropped him or buckled him like 10 times.
Yeah, it was beat down of the year type material.
I mean, it was, he's not going to win knocker of the year. I mean, I think it's pretty sad that Max Holloway has that, but the way he dropped Li Jingliang, face planted him down, I mean, it was nasty. And I can't imagine many people and that's a freaking killer division. I can't mind, like, listen, I there's a lot of fighters that will never turn anybody down, but that's also not the name when they ring you up and you're like, oh, I'm excited, I'm gonna get my next fight, and they say Carlos Prates, you're like, oh, fuck it, like I'm gonna say yes, but like,
can I sign another contract first?
Yeah, you couldn't give me Michael Chiesa, like really, like you got to give me Carlos Prates. I've said this before, and I'm doubling down on it. The way he strikes, not his personality, obviously, not the nationality. One's Brazilian and one's Irish, but he reminds me of Conor McGregor. The way he strikes, the left-handed, the freaking piston of the left hand, the way he keeps guys on the edge of his punches, very similar to the Conor did, just lands so freaking clean. His step back left hand. I just need him to freaking jump on the mic and say 50 G's, baby, because that's what he reminds me of.
That's a fair comparison, man. I hadn't thought about that, but there's something to that. And yeah, everything serves to kind of pull the guy into my left-handed kill shot. Ooh, I just did it to Lee over and over again.
And he's got a better kicking game than Conor. I mean, Conor, kind of had a little underrated kicking game, but the way he throws kicks and he'll throw a high kick just to distract to follow up with the left hand. I mean, the dude is a freaking sniper. I was thinking about, like, who do I want him to match him with? I'm giving him a name. I'm giving him a big name too.
Oh,
I'm giving him Vicente Luque.
Wow. Honestly, I like that just fine. Like, that's a solid test. I think that's kind of where Vicente Luque is at this point, competitively. He's the guy you're going to measure your next fighters up against. He called out, I'm pretty sure he called out Chaos Williams. That feels like aiming a bit low.
That's what he said? I didn't hear what he said. I heard him calling somebody out, and
yeah,
that's weird. That's a major step. I mean, Chaos Williams has a nice streak himself right now, but yeah, I'm surprised.
My thought was this coming weekend we got what's his name?
This weekend?
It's Neil Magny versus what's his name? Michael Morales. Like, if Morales beats Magny, you've got the two scariest up and coming strikers in the 170-pound division. Give me those two.
Yeah. I see a lot of people saying Prates versus Wonderboy Buckley winner. If Buckley beats Wonderboy, I can't imagine him fighting Prates. Like, he's been calling for big names already. I mean, he got a big name and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, but Li Jingliang, I mean, he's always a tough out, but he is what he is at this point. I'm gonna give him like Max Griffin. Like, it's just a tough fight.
Okay. You're in the same bucket I am. Somebody said Ponzinibbio. That works right alongside Griffin. It works alongside the two names I had down that were Jeremiah Wells and Alex Morono. Just give me a kind of middle of the division guy like that, preferably one coming off a loss so they kind of go together. Yeah.
Oh, and back to the reason why I picked Vicente Luque, I wanted a name, but also I want a tougher stylistic matchup where he can really style on the feet, but Luque is going to wrestle. and I want to see how he does against someone who's going to really push the wrestling on him.
Yeah.
So. All right, so that was the main card. Let's go to the prelims. We'll go this a little quicker than the rest. Junior Tafa took on Walter Walker in the other brothers matchup. The with Walter Walker winning by first round submission. Ben, did you ever realize? And I know you're very busy for Sherdog on fight nights, but did you ever realize that like 90% of MMA fans do not know what a verbal tap is?
90% of MMA fans and at least 67% of the people at the UFC table tonight don't know that a scream when you're in a submission hold is a submission. It's right there in the unified rules.
Yeah, and it's been like that way for a very long time.
It's been that way since Chael Sonnen screamed at Paulo Filho in like 2006. And I'm sure it was long before that. The unified rules have been in place since the middle of 2000. Like,
yeah, they kept playing.
Know what the fuck you're talking about before you go off on this stuff, people.
They kept talking about it, and I was like, this is the easiest. Like, this is not a controversy at all. Like, this is clear as day. This tap was as clear as Izzy's tap. I mean, you heard him scream. It was. I'll say this: I'm not a big fan of like heel hooks and that, but when you have 10 seconds, sure. Like, I actually like the Volta Walker one for it, and it worked out for him. This is the time to do it, because if you miss it, okay, you're on bottom for 10 seconds. So I actually thought Volta Walker actually showed good IQ. The bad part of Volta Walker, which I didn't like, I don't get this. Like, why did guy, like, he got a takedown and one, like, very early on, and Junior Tafa was like on all fours, and he just like crawled himself to the cage. I'm like, that's like, dude, that's like wrestling day one shit. The table. You talk to any like 6-year-old wrestler. What's the table? You got 2 arms and 2 legs. Well, if you want the guy to go down, curl on one of the legs. And I'm looking at him like, just grab his post arms, and you got him down. Like, how does a guy who wrestles a lot not know this?
I don't know, man. Like, I wrestled, at least throughout high school, started in referee's position hundreds of times, and literally every single time, the first thing I did was pull out the near arm. It was like my only move.
I'm joking.
Like, yeah,
like every youth wrestler in the world, their first, in 1 or 2, like I mean, there's tons of breakdowns, but
yeah,
when you're a youth wrestler, there's probably about 3 breakdowns you do, and arm chop is probably the most popular one. The other ones are spiral ride and ankle knee tap, or ankle tight waist ankle, something like that. Basically going to the lower body. That's it. And Walter Walker doesn't know. That said, he still won. One thing so we talk positive. One thing I love that he just like, he was on this rant about the Tafa brothers. And he's like, I now want to fight Justin Tafa. And I'm like, you know what? Let's make this thing a thing. And if Justin beats Walter Walker, I want Johnny Walker to like.
Johnny Walker's coming up for vengeance.
In my city, there's like, this is a true story. In my city, and I don't know if I should be telling this, but I'll leave the names of the families out. There's like beef between 2 families that's been going on for like 40 years because one grandma like literally killed the other grandma. And like grandchildren fight with each other. Like, they don't even knew grandma, and it's like like it's a 40-year rivalry. I want the Tafa Walkers to be that. I want like Johnny Walker, the freaking grandson fighting Junior Tafa's grandson. But let's make it a thing. Yeah. What else you want to say about this fight? Hatfield and McCoy. That's the other one.
Yeah.
Let's make it the Tafas versus the Walkers. What else you want to say?
Nothing else to say about this one, man. Like, just
all right. The probably the closest fight other than on the prelims, Ricardo Ramos took on Josh Kulabau with Ricardo Ramos winning split decision. Ben, how did you score this fight?
I scored it for Kulabau. I gave him the 2nd and 3rd rounds.
Okay, so MMA decisions had it 8-4 for Kulabau. That said, and I had it for Kulabau. To me, Kulabau gave this fight away because for a guy that has always been a big high fight IQ guy, he went like 180 opposite. He drops Hikaru Amos with leg kicks where he can't even walk. He falls down, then he like stays over the top of him. I'm screaming at my team, like, let him up. He does like too many, and then he lets him up and he throws Ben, I counted. He threw one calf kick after that point. For the rest of round 2 and the entire third round. He threw one calf kick. And it was headhunt. I think he got overconfident and he wanted like a walk-off knockout. I think he's like, oh, I won this fight. Let me try to like get 50K.
And as soon as he did that, he stopped being Josh Kulabau.
Yeah, and he gave Ramos a chance. Ramos got a takedown, and I said, you know what? I scored it for Kulabau, but I'm like, he let the opportunity for Ramos to steal it, and Ramos did just enough.
Yep, that's pretty much all there is to say about that one. Like, it's a bummer because Kulabau has been such a scrappy overachiever, and here, yeah, he gave away a fight. We've never seen him do that before.
Yeah, that's a 2-fight winning streak for him. I'm 2-fight losing streak for him now. So, good for Hikaru Ramos. He toughed it out. Before that, Casey O'Neill took on Luana Santos. Casey O'Neill winning by unanimous decision. Dude, talk about Casey O'Neill turning back the clocks a little bit and kind of remind us of the prospect that we thought it was. Talk about a performance.
I don't want to take too much away from her because, yeah, it was an eye-opening performance by Casey O'Neill. There's the outside possibility that Luana Santos, somebody with a demonstrated big weight cut, taking the fight on like a week's notice, we may not have got the absolute best version of her, but
going across the world,
but that shouldn't take too much away from O'Neill here, because the main problem with O'Neill isn't that she lost a couple fights. It's that she didn't look like herself at all. And here she was back to being the long, rangy, angular striker with surprisingly good power, well-rounded, nasty. Yeah, it looked like the Casey O'Neill of her last couple fights before she lost these two. Like, you know, the one that just really kind of mauled Roxanne Modafferi, like in her retirement fight. Good stuff. O'Neill is young.
Yeah, she's still only 26.
Still only 26, and it'll remain to be seen what she looks like in her next fight, which presumably will be away from Australia. But if Casey O'Neill is back, it's not like the division has left her behind.
Yeah, I mean, her pressure was really good. I mean, Santos couldn't handle the pressure. She hated that. O'Neill, I thought, was really good at being first, then slipping away from the counter shots, and then coming back with, the third combinations. And Santos, I mean, all she kept doing, it was just kept throwing the same straight right hand and then trying to clinch. And I mean, as the fight went deeper on, O'Neill was getting better and better at defending the clinch, defending the throws. I mean, even some of the throws that Santos went for, she wasn't in position. Like at the end when she like threw this headlock and gave her back. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good thing for the UFC. I don't think. I mean, Santos is even younger. Santos is 24, so this can just be a setback for her. It's good to get O'Neill, someone who's she was a big personality, a big talent coming in that had some buzz and kind of had like this like mean girl kind of vibe to her. I shouldn't say mean girl, but like a Ronda Rousey type personality. Like, I'm a bad bitch and deal with it. So I'm going to match her against Veronica Hardy. I guess they have some beef. Veronica Hardy's on like a 3-fight winning streak. I guess there's some backstory. Probably like a fight night co-main event.
I put down 2 names, and Hardy was the first of the 2.
What was the other one? Dan Hardy.
It was Montana De La Rosa, which is somebody just a little further down if we don't fully believe O'Neill is back. But Hardy, it's a hotter matchup, and it's more marketable. Hardy's in a better place in the division. If we think Casey O'Neill is back, then yeah, Hardy's the fight to make.
Yeah, and Montana De La Rosa is like the complete opposite. Like, never has beef with anybody. Just sweet and just trying to raise her college age kid. Before that, Ben's favorite fighter, Herbert Burns, took on Jack Jenkins. Jack Jenkins getting a 3rd round TKO.
Good. He may not be my favorite fighter, but the more Herbert Burns there are on a card, the easier my tape study is. This was the most Herbert Burns performance ever.
Ever? I don't know. The one where
he was too tired to get up. I mean, that's as on brand as it gets.
But did Gilbert have to come in and pick him up like Forrest Gump and Lieutenant Dan? That's what we need. That we
it's so sad. He knew his back was against the wall here, but he's just still Herbert Burns. He looked good for a few minutes, then all the wheels fall off the wagon, and he gasses out and he quits. It's terrible.
Yeah. So I gotta go back to the Pope is in here, so a hallelujah. I don't know how to say that, but I tried doing it last week too, but we'll call him hallelujah. And the Pope is here, so that fits. Made a good point about Casey O'Neill did have the ACL injury come back for it, so kind of goes away. So we'll give her a little bit of pass on that. So that's a good point. Also, he made a very good point about Tom Brady being awesome. He could come back from an ACL and be the best player in the league, regardless. So kind of great comment. I think Gilbert Burns should enter, when you come in and you have your little bucket and you got your ice in it and you got your water bottles and a towel or whatever, all the stuff you need as a cornerman. Gilbert should come with moving blankets. So you can just throw a moving blanket underneath Herbert and just drag him out. Make it a little easy on you, so you don't have to pick him up. Just
bring one of those baby slings and just walk out with Herbert worn on the front of him and his legs just sticking out the back. Except Herbert's taller than Gilbert, so his heels would be dragging on the ground.
Gilbert and Herbert just relationship, just
so good.
There's nothing better. There's nothing better. I want to go on rare for a second. We talk about rules. This should be a submission. When a guy gets hurt, the referee tells him to get up, and he refuses to get up. That shouldn't be a TKO. That should be a submission. He quit.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of semantic, I guess. But if they wanted to start listing that as a verbal submission, sure. Yeah, I mean, when somebody refuses to come out for the next round, quits on the stool, they call it, TKO retirement. But if they wanted to list that as a submission, that'd be fine with me too.
Yeah. So to Herbert Burns' credit, he did come in better shape. He actually looked like he was in better shape. The problem is he just looks like a BJJ guy that just tries doing MMA every once in a while, just because. But he just happens to be on the highest level.
I made the joke when we were breaking down the Tafra versus Walker fight on the preview, where I was Joe Ellenberger versus Mark Hughes, Nick Serra versus Reagan Penn. He's totally the Nick Serra of the Burns family, where Nick was taller than Matt and looked more like an elite fighter, but just had nothing but BJJ, had a terrible gas tank, and got DQ'd once for refusing to get up from a butt scoot. Just because he was so tired. He's literally,
And before someone says, guys, you keep talking about Herbert Burns, ignoring Jack Jenkins. The guy looked fantastic. I mean, I like this guy a lot. I love his feints. I love his calf kicks, his body work. He's got fast hands. This was the mismatch, and he was in control of the entire fight. He looked fantastic.
He was a minus 750 favorite for a good reason.
He wasn't a minus 750. He wasn't minus 1,700 favorite as Dominic Reyes, his little brother or older brother, right? Alex Reyes.
Yeah.
On Tom Nolan. Tom Nolan, one of the biggest favorites on the card, favorites of all season. I'll say this: he obviously clearly won, but this fight was more competitive than it should have been in a negative 1,600, 1,700 favorite matchup.
That's the point. When you were a greater than 10-1 favorite, just getting a straightforward 30-27 decision, I don't think that's really enough to hold serve. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect something dominant, and he just kind of won all 3 rounds in straightforward fashion. Yeah, he didn't look great. Icy Vegeta says Nolan might get smoked by better strikers. I agree. 37-year-old Alex Reyes, who barely fights, it feels like he fights once every 5 years, like beat Nolan to the punch more than once. And Nolan, I mean, Nolan's reach advantage over Reyes was like half the octagon.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of hype on him. I'm not buying the hype. I mean, you know, like, he got to win, so I want to take it for what it's worth. But watching him fight and his style. I mean, I love pressure and his nonstop pressure, but the unnecessary spinning attacks where he gets his back taken because he throws a spinning attack and walking into punches instead of trying to sidestep things. He's going to lose to someone that he's much better than. It's going to happen because he's going to do a spinning back take and get taken down and held on for times and not land strikes because doing something stupid.
Aunt Milana, he got lamped by Nicholas Mota with just a huge overhand, just the stereotypical tall man knockout. That's going to happen to him at least a couple more times while he's in the UFC.
Yeah, I think that's true. Speaking of getting knocked out, somehow Ricky Glenn did not get knocked out when he took on Kenan Song and made it to the decision. I mean, this was an absolute mismatch. I mean, Glenn was, I mean, the funny thing, it was an absolute mismatch, and Glenn was the one who dropped Kenan Song like 10 seconds into the fight. And then Kenan Song said, "Oh yeah, you're the ghost of Ricky Glenn," and just end up beating the shit out of him for the rest of the fight.
Oh, Glenn, even just during fight week, was just talking like, "Yeah, I'm retiring soon. I used to be at 145 and now I'm fighting at 170." Like, he sounded like he was done before fight night. He fought like he was done on fight night. Like, I think Song Kenan has already peaked and is probably headed back down soon, and was never more than kind of a mid-card guy. But this felt like more of a mismatch than Nolan versus Reyes once they were actually in the cage and fighting. Yeah, it was. I didn't end up more excited about either guy at the end of the fight.
Yeah.
Jade Bunky throwing daggers in here. Getting your ass kicked to the point of actual disfigurement just without the comeback, 100%.
Yeah, nice job. Yeah, Darren.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tag team match by the end. There was welterweight, what's his name? Welterweight Glenn, and then like featherweight lump on his head. Like, jeez.
Yeah, the corner talked about whether they were working on his head, and they're like, Dominic was like, "Oh, they're gonna put pressure on that," and DC talking about how much it's gonna hurt, and like, but they're gonna work on it, and they just like started working it, and nothing changed except for like Vaseline was all over it to make it shiny. Yeah, I mean, Glenn just doesn't react to strikes well. Kenan Song could not miss. I guess Ricky Glenn did hang up the gloves after the fight. Enjoy retirement. Hope you get like a mug or something or a watch in retirement. The UFC send you something.
Hopefully.
And the first fight of the night, going right up the Pope's alley, Jesus Aguilar took on Stuart Nicol, winning by first round sub. That's 3 wins in a row for Jesus Aguilar.
It's marred just a little bit by him having missed weight, obviously. Also,
he was in fairness, he was dining with thieves and tax collectors this week, so give him a break.
All right. Oh man, like Judas must have gave him an extra big piece of bread.
He was feeding 5,000.
All right. You and I both think Aguilar is pretty good. Like, I don't know still if I buy him as a future contender, but he's definitely pretty good. But I thought Nicol looked great right until
they got caught.
Yeah, right until he got caught. And that's not saying much about a fight that lasted half a round, but I've not given up on Nicol either.
Oh no, I mean,
like if he goes on from here to win his next 5 fights, and this becomes the Ricky Simone versus Marab of his career, I'm not shocked.
Yeah, me neither. I love that he had a Kimura. He did like the rolling Kimura, like very Parisian style. I love that. And quoting the good book, when Jesus said his final words, he said to his disciples, "Go make disciples and Judea and Samaria and all that." And then he said, "And always remember, when you have a chance, jump guillotine." Like that's what Jesus did say. That's always jump guillotine. So as me and Ben always say, jump guillotine. So good for Jesus Aguilar for jumping guillotine.
To shoot takedowns is human. To jump guillotines is divine. There we go.
There you go. So there you guys have it. We've covered all 12 fights. Let's get to the fun stuff. With some people just fast. Oh, Dustin Poirier smiling somewhere. That's yeah. I just pictured Dustin Poirier at home doing that Leonardo DiCaprio, like that pointing when he's pointing at the TV. Let's do the fun stuff. Let's go with let's do dude seriously. Do you have any dude seriously, Ben?
We already talked about it a little bit, but both DCs just going off about the verbal tap, just unbelievable. Dude, seriously? And somebody pointed out in the chat, Dominic Cruz is going to be unhappy about every stoppage that he announces forever. He is going to be salty about the Dillashaw fight, basically. Like, the Cejudo fight. Sorry, he's going to be salty about that, and because of that, he's going to project unhappiness about every finish forever that he ever announces. Like, it's so funny.
Yeah, wasn't Cejudo kicking his ass up to that point, anyways?
Cejudo was winning handily.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was winning and then he got knocked out, and then you could say, "Oh, I was going to win." Anyways, I got a couple dude series. Some are kind of positive dude series, some are negative. I'm going to start. So Ricky Glenn did not have a good night, but Ricky Glenn's walkout song, "God's Country," going again with the Pope and the Jesus. Dude, seriously, nice job. Alex Reyes. I don't know how I'm gonna say this one. Alex Reyes got his ass handed to him. Tom Nolan. Then when the two people like shake hands with your opponent, he did the freaking heart. I don't even know how to do it because I'm a grown man. I don't know how to do it. Would you go like this, like make a heart with your hands?
Yeah, like it's like this. Like what you're doing is like trying to show me how big a hamburger was that you ate yesterday.
How do I do that? How do I do it like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he turns to Tom Nolan and goes, like, they shake hands, and he turns to Nolan, does that. I'm like, yeah, Yamasaki, like, did you just do a heart thing to your opponent? You wonder why you get your ass kicked in the UFC? Like, dude, seriously? All right, the 30 C West has taken over for our other. I know he's changed his name a billion times. The who's our other troller?
I can't remember his name now because
he keeps changing his name. 30 C West is he's going straight trolling.
30 C West is also a gem. Anytime we start talking about Bo Nickel, like it's pretty awesome.
DC thinking that City Kickboxing was in Australia. Like, dude, seriously? Oh, Bob Chimpson. Yeah, nice. That was his original name. DC thinking that City Kickboxing was in Australia, not New Zealand. Like, dude, seriously? And I get one more positive, dude, seriously. Izzy's fight shots. Like, dude, seriously? Those are dope.
I thought both of the custom shorts in the main event were really solid, and I normally don't notice or comment on that kind of stuff unless it's negative. Like I'm just that guy. I only notice clothes if they're bad. But no, both of them look like sharp, and I'm in. I'm good with the gold gloves for champs and former champs.
Yeah. Yeah, yes, Michael Jordan never lost in the finals. That is true because he used to get eliminated all the other rounds, but he played actual teams like the Lakers and the Celtics and the. Well, he never played. Well, he did one championship like against the old Lakers, but like when he played Detroit and
like the Pistons,
yeah, he got smoked. And last time I checked, Tom Brady has 7 championships. Michael Jordan has 6. Just saying. Michael Jordan does not have more championships than the entire leagues do. Any franchise does, like Tom Brady does. If you didn't know that, Tom Brady has more championships than any NFL franchise has. There's no debate. It's Brady. It's not even close. Anyways, let's go to the cut list. Ben, I got a lot for a pay-per-view. Usually pay-per-views we don't have that many. I have 4 for the cut list. So when we do cut list, if both me and Ben have the same name on the cut list, we allow them to get booted from the UFC. I have 4, Ben. How many do you have?
I have 4 as well. I'll be interested to see if they're the same 4.
All right. My first one, Ricky Glenn. I mean, he retired.
It sounds like he retired, but if he changes his mind, well,
3 losses in a row. Yeah, the time is passing by. Yeah. Next, I mean, this one, Alex Reyes. The guy's 0-3 in the UFC. He hasn't won a fight in 7 years. You had him on your list?
He was on my list. August 2017 was his last win, and it wasn't in the UFC.
All right, so we're 2 for 2. Ben, how about you kick off the next one?
Oh, Herbert Burns. He's out.
Absolutely.
We'll see plenty of him. Like he's still going to be cornering Gilbert, but Herbert Burns.
All right.
Why would you keep him?
All right, we're 3 for 3, Ben. Let's see if we can wrap it up. This one might be the one. This is the one I'm not as confident in.
This is someone that we just spent a considerable amount of time talking about matchmaking for, even though I knew the whole time he was going to be on my cut list.
Oh,
Tuivasa has lost 5 in a row, man.
Oh, no way! No way!
Come on. The UFC is going to cut him.
Yeah, but when he fights about the tomato cans, you forget.
He's 30 and he's popular. Somebody else would sign him if the UFC cuts him. But
he's gonna fight Wesley Cabbage Correa. I would just love if someone said this to Cabbage Correa. I'd be like, what? Why are they bringing me up? What obscure old heavyweights we could bring up? No, my 4th one that you saved was other.
I'm not saving Junior Tafa. Like if you cut him, he's gone.
Oh, I was cutting Junior Tafa. Lost 3 out of 4.
He's gone. I'm fine with that.
Oh, 30 CY, shut up. Patrick Mahomes on pace to break Tom Brady's records. You know what? So was Aaron Rodgers. That's what Packers fans were saying 10 years ago. All right. And freaking Colts fans were saying about freaking, what was that stupid guy? Andrew Luck and freaking, they all say that. They're not going to, no one's going to do it. Anyways, because you know what's going to happen? Suddenly, like, Patrick Mahomes will be the best player in the league, and then suddenly he's going to just suck one day because that's the every quarterback in history has done except for Tom Brady. Anyways, I got, dude, right now, freaking, right now the European fans are freaking hating me. But you know what though? I had to watch like Embedded this week, and there was like, I don't know, some kind of like, I don't know, third world country football on it.
You know yeah. Oh yeah.
It was like Australian football or some shit. I don't know. So bear with me. All right, let's go. You want to do the awards? Do we have the awards?
I believe we have the awards.
And do you agree with them, Ben? And what are they? Let's Ben. How about you tell me what your awards would be, and then we'll compare.
Okay. My awards, I would give Fight of the Night.
Fight of the Night, okay.
To Dan Hooker versus Mateusz Gamrot.
Okay.
I think that's pretty indisputable. Like I thought it was easily the best fight of the night. And my performances of the night, Carlos Prates face planting Li Jingliang's got to be on there. And Kai Kara France lamping Steve Erceg. is probably my other. Either that or Jesus Aguilar, like putting Stuart Nicol all the way to sleep for his first career loss. You know what? Yeah, no, that's going to be like, give me the undercard guy. Well, no, he didn't make weight. Fuck it. All right. Yeah. It's Kai Kara France.
Yeah. I had the same exact three. I had Prates, Kai Kara France, definitely good performance bonuses. I mean, Kai Kara France, you knock out a guy in the first round who just, some people thought should have won the title in his last fight. Prates, I mean, that's the easiest 50K they've given out in a really long time. I had a hard time figuring out the fight of the night because Hooker and Gamrot was so good, but the main event was also really good. But ultimately, I went with Hooker and Gamrot. So, yeah. So, what were the awards?
Those were the awards.
Oh, nice job! I'm so, but it does seem kind of funny that Dricus Du Plessis and Adesanya doesn't get anything based on having such a good, fun main event. But I think they made the right choices.
Yeah, the real post fight bonus is the friends they made along the way.
Oh, shut up! All right, now everyone's. You know what happened? I was at a softball field. Listen, I'll tell you something right now. There's two things. There's two hills I will always die on. And I was at a softball field and like we had to leave. It was super, super far away. We had to leave at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I was there all day. I literally just pulled in right to about a half hour. I jumped in the shower and then started watching the fights. My daughter, by the way, pitched. We're in the semifinals. We have to go back there tomorrow. Might be in like 3 hours sleep. My daughter pitched an absolute gem to get us into the semifinals. Pitched a complete game shutout with no walks. She was incredible. Anyways, she's scheduled to pitch the championship if we reach the championship. So hopefully it's our last tournament of the season. So I want to go with a win. But anyway, there's two hills I'll always die in. Hill number one is that wrestling is the ultimate base for combat sports. No one will ever tell me otherwise. And the second one is that freaking Tom Brady is the greatest American sports athlete of all time. And that's stupid. Oh, Tom Brady was carried by other players. Yeah, what other players? Tell me the other player that played with him for 20 years. Nobody. All right, shut up. And I know they're all trolling me. But they got me though. The problem is they got me. They're trolling me, but they got me. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm getting jumped. I freaking Habib and all those boys are jumping. I'm swinging all over the place. I'm like Kevin Holland. I'm Kevin Holland trying to take on everybody. Yeah, they're all trolling me and they got me. All right, let's go to the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and the Bears are stock market reference. You want to be on the Bulls list. You do not want to be on the Bears list. Ben, what do you want to do first? Bulls or Bears?
Oh, why don't we do Bulls? Be positive.
Okay. Do you want to go first or you want me to go first?
You can go.
All right. So the way we do it hockey style, 3, 2, 1. My third biggest stock riser, I'm going to go with Dan Hooker. I mean, huge win. Beat a stud. He's on a 3-fight winning streak now. I think two of the 3 fights, he was like pretty big underdogs. Beat really good guys. Then he had a killer promo. Like I think him like calling out somebody wouldn't have been like, oh, I want to fight, fill in the blank. Charles Oliveira next. Like, wouldn't have been as good as he just going off and just saying, yeah, I want. What do you say? I want BMF. I want number one contender. I want Conor McGregor. I want main events. I want it was just perfect.
He was so happy. Like he kept running off and then realizing, oh wait, I have to be next to the mic if I want to say anything and have people hear it. So I'd have to run back. It was great. Yeah.
Yeah. Number 2, Carlos Prates. What a stud. This guy is a freaking stud. 3-0 in the UFC, 3 KOs. 3 spectacular KOs. The guy hasn't even broke a sweat so far in the UFC. He looks incredible. And my number 1, it's such a cheap number 1 for me, but it's got to be Dricus Du Plessis. Defends the title, beats, his biggest rivalry to date. The way I thought he was down on the cards, the way he came back, he just keeps continuing to impress me. Dricus Du Plessis. Who do you got for Bulls?
I agree with all yours, so I'm not going to stack 3 more on top of those. Just going to say, I don't know if Casey O'Neill is back, but she came into this fight like a moderate underdog to someone in Santos that was really unproven. So that was just kind of a indication that a lot of people had jumped ship. She looked great. So good for her. And yeah, Carlos Prates quickly turning into the kind of person that his name is in nobody's mouth. Yeah, scary dude doing difficult things in a difficult division.
Ben, I'll throw out some listeners' bulls if you want to read them.
Oh yeah. Aunt Milano says Kai Kara France, Carlos Prates, and King Casey. Love those. Icy Vegeta, Australian ref, Bears Australian refs, Bulls Prates, Kai Kara France, Dricus Du Plessis. Anthony Tardif says that Hooker's energy was great. Completely agree. 30C West conceding to the GOAT. His number one is Tom Brady, the most talked about athlete in this recap. I mean, it was either going to be him or Bo Nicol, dude. Pope Aguilar plus 185 dog pulling off the upset too. He would have been on my list if he'd made weight. Yeah. And then just lots of love for Dricus Du Plessis here. Anthony Tardif is already throwing out his Bears, so maybe we should move on.
All right, Ben, go ahead. Kick off the Bears. This is unless you don't want to be on.
Okay. Bears. Bear number 3. Australian officiating. Like, I just feel like for a country that is as big as Australia, as populous as Australia, has a combat sports history like Australia. Like, Australia is really only, and Oceania in general, really only started catching up in MMA when Robert Whittaker became great, but a long history of great kickboxing and boxing. And this is a country that it doesn't even have one big commission over the whole country like Brazil does. It has state commissions overseeing MMA. Just weird malfeasance happens way too much when the UFC goes to Australia. It shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
So that's a bear.
And Howie Booth got fired. So
mid-card.
Can I jump in real quick? Speaking of Australia, I'm surprised we don't get more AC/DC entrance songs when you're in Australia. We get AC/DC entrance songs everywhere. You think Australia is where we'd actually get it the most?
You know what? It's because most of the original members of AC/DC were actually from Scotland and immigrated to Australia. Maybe they're like, nah, we won't take your carpetbagger newcomers.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then Casey O'Neill should do it then.
Casey O'Neill absolutely should be walking out to some AC/DC. I got Tai Tuivasa. The UFC's probably going to keep him, but for a guy that was tantalizingly close to the title picture like 2 years ago, he has regressed to the mean in a bad way because he's finally about to commit the unforgivable sin. Like, as long as he's Tai Tuivasa, he could lose 10 fights in a row, but he didn't pull the trigger tonight and it turned into a Jairzinho Rozenstruik fight. Like, he can't do that many more times and keep his job. And my top one I'm going to say is Steve Erceg. He's now lost 2 in a row after kind of hitting the UFC flyweight division like a bolt of lightning. I don't think he's done as a contender. Again, he's not even 30 years old yet, but for a guy who came tantalizingly close to winning the belt earlier this year, it's definitely a step back. And I totally agree with Pope there.
Yeah. So we had a lot of similar ones. So I'll give you a couple of different ones. You know, I give my number 3 Bears, not totally down on, based on her taking on short notice, but I'll go Luana Santos just because she looks so bad tonight. And that was one that we both were pretty high on. Again, she gets a little bit of a pass, step up in competition, short notice across the world. But, her stock went down a little bit. My number 2, how about Josh Kulabau? I mean, very winnable fight. 2 fights in a row where he was right there, very winnable, that he ended up finding ways to lose. So Josh Kulabau, both times takedown defense cost him the fights. And my number 1, this is not his overall legacy. His stock's not going down. We talked about this at the beginning of the show, but more of hearing now, Israel Adesanya lost 3 out of 4 fights. So Israel Adesanya's stock is going down. I mean, he'll say his big thing he said to the mic, I'll be back. Well, I'm not betting on him, my man. I'm gonna give you one more bull. I'll give you a bonus bull. How about heavyweight submissions, man? Last week we had an armbar from guard. This week we had a heel hook. I mean, from heavyweights. How about
heavyweights bringing the old school back? It's like 2002 all over again.
Ben, what was your grade for the card?
Give this one a B+. I love that they didn't burden us with 15 fights, just 12 fights, lean and mean. So, I mean, even the best cards by the main event, sometimes I'm just done, man. And that's usually your 14 or 15 fight card. Yeah, some good stuff here. It wasn't the card of the year, but it was pretty damn entertaining. B+.
Yeah, I think that's about right. I go like B+. I think that's good. Like the main event was solid. It had moments. It had intrigue. The co-main event, I kind of graded like top heavy and then kind of trickled down. We had some controversy. We had heel hooks. We had fight of the nights. Like I think some action fights like Hooker and Mateusz Gamrot. We had a knockout of the year. So yeah, man, I'll go B+. Like I was very happy about this card. So Ben, always the hardest question: who is your listener of the night? We had a great group tonight.
Not a hard one for me this time. It's 30C West. Like just trolling Keith hard with the Tom Brady trash talk, getting the rise out of him. You're the real MVP, man. I loved it.
Yeah, we had a really great group. Jade Bunky, obviously that's my boy. Anthony Tardif. Iman Report was great. Chris Wiz. Icy Vegeta. Yeah, I said his name wrong again. I apologize. Hallelujah, hallelujah, or how you say it. Mark Atom. The Pope. Yeah, a lot of really good with Ninja Kitty. I'm gonna go with someone that I don't know if I've given it to him in a long time. Definitely in here a lot. Volume, quality. I don't even know if he even mentioned too many of his comments. But I was reading a lot of the comments. I think it was really good. I'm going to go with Ant Milano. I think Ant Milano is always a very quality person. So Ant Milano is going to be maybe he's from Australia too. So I'll give him that too. So I don't know if he is, but we'll say he is. So all the way from down under, Ant Milano gets the victory. So there you guys have it. We have done UFC 305. Du Plessis versus Adesanya deeper than we believe anybody in the world does it. We thank you guys for listening. We will be back previewing the Cannonier versus Calbarado. Okay, I'm messing up the name. Bajado. I will never even say that name correctly. Card. I think it's like 11 fights, Ben.
So beautiful. So good. It is 11 fights. And that's assuming. Well, no, it's not assuming. They're just waiting for the other tough semifinal, so we know who is going to fight for the featherweight tough thing. So, yeah, 11 fights. I can't wait to preview it.
So Ant Milano is from Mexico. So Mexico started with the first win tonight and ended with the last win tonight. So nice job, Mexico. Way to go. Viva la Mexico.
Hey, Mexico is right next door to me.
It's just Viva Mexico, right? Viva la Mexico. That's as we say Vegas, right?
Yeah. Or Viva la France. Viva la France.
Okay. I might be messing up. I gotta go. I gotta go to bed. So there you guys have it. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for guys being the best listeners, and we'll check you guys out next time.